There are a number of critical issues that are continually going unresolved and snowballing with greater and greater intensity because they're the result of deeper cultural problems that are not being addressed. And one of these I've been wanting to mention for quite some time, and the current hubbub about the latest Taylor Swift album is giving us a good example of the problem that goes much deeper than the current reactions, in this case, particularly from feminists who have been criticizing Taylor Swift. So I would like to point out why I think that that is a mistake on the part of the feminists, and why, in fact, these attacks they're making on Taylor Swift are demonstrating that they are still controlled by the patriarchy. They've internalized the patriarchy and are exhibiting patriarchal behavior towards Taylor Swift, still thinking of themselves as feminists. And this is one of the, perhaps the deepest problem with the feminist movement so far, is that we have a case where women are trying to wake up from thousands of years of slavery and abuse under the patriarchal system, not realizing that part of the patriarchal system is to deny the interior world, to deny the inner world, to deny the feminine world, and act as if only the surface, only the material, only the logical is real and valid. And so all people, men and women, who have been subjected to the patriarchal culture have, to some extent, some more than others, internalized the patriarchy so that their inner masculine energy, whether you're a man or woman, the inner masculine energy dominates the inner feminine energy, and the behavior towards others reflects that inner dynamic of the patriarchal control within, of the masculine energy dominating the feminine energy. Broadly speaking, the patriarchy represents a competitive culture, and what we could for now call the matriarchy would have a cooperative culture. And so you see this tearing down of other women and approaching them from a mental, logical, judgmental point of view is exhibiting the behavior of the toxic masculine energy. And I don't think that this is going to accomplish the goal, which I believe is the goal, of liberating women. We have to not only liberate women's bodies, but liberate women's psyches, liberate the inner feminine from domination by the inner masculine. So let's get into that just a little bit. I've seen a few negative or critical videos during the last few days regarding Taylor Swift and her latest album. And there's several points that I want to mention along with the main point. The first is I saw someone commenting that there are so many of her songs use the same chord progression, giving the example C, A minor, F, G, which would be a 1, 6 minor, 4, dominant 4, and dominant 5. Whether it's in the key of C or not, that's the chord progression. And what I find as invalidating about this type of criticism is if you look at, for example, when rock and roll started in the 50s and heading into the 60s, probably more than half of all of the songs by all of the different artists had that same chord progression. It was part of the genre. You look at blues, and almost all blues has a standard chord progression. Slightly different, but using the 1, 4, and 5, and sometimes that minor 6. So essentially, what they're really saying is that Taylor has really created a genre of her own, which has certain idioms and you could say classic chord changes that are minimalistic and fairly simple. So there's maybe a slightly deeper judgment that came across in terms of musicality on several of the videos, saying, I don't find that interesting, and an artist should continue to grow and challenge themselves and explore new musical chord progressions and modalities and things. And that ties in with a more general criticism that she's still writing music for little girls, in quotes, young women. And she's 35 and something like it's unbecoming. So there's a lot of different ways that Taylor Swift is being attacked, but they all have that same basic background, which is this music doesn't appeal to me, and because it's so simple or so repetitive, that means it's not good music. What all of these critics are failing to understand, from my point of view, the way I see it, is they're not looking at the larger context of what Taylor Swift has accomplished for humanity on this earth. She has created a worldwide, global coalition of young women who not only are bonding with her, but bonding with each other. I would think that it would be the dream of any feminist, and none of them have been able to do it. Here's Taylor Swift showing you how to create a global coalition of women who bond with each other, have each other's backs. Sure, they're young. Sure, they may be naive. Sure, they may not be yet caught up in the world problems that are generated by the patriarchy. And I think that is part of Taylor Swift's strategy, you might say. And now I'm not saying she did this intentionally by any means, and I'll get to that point a little bit later. But you see, it could be that the problem that feminists have been having in trying to spread their message and get this cohesion amongst women who, let's face it, the first war was a war on women. Women have been being dominated for thousands of years and need to end this war on women that men have been waging against them. But feminists have been trying for some time now to gain the kinds of numbers and the kinds of mutual understanding amongst all women that would give them the clout, would give them the power to make positive changes. And, they've been able at times to coalesce around certain issues to give an energy lift to a cause for a while, but nowhere near as widespread, as global, and as sustained over the long term as this coalition that Taylor Swift has created. And it may be that the only way to create such a global phenomenon, such a global coalition of women, is to start at an age before they've been thoroughly indoctrinated into patriarchal thinking and fully internalizing the patriarchy. So what I'm saying is that instead of looking at Taylor Swift simply as a pop star, I see what she's accomplished as having created a safe space for girlhood, for young womanhood. I see her as having paid attention to girls whose only thoughts are just living their daily life and learning about the beginnings of relationships and things like this because of the stage of development they're at. And that has not been a safe space. There's the opening song on the new album, the Fate of Ophelia. Well, that reminds me of a book that came out not that long ago, written by a woman psychologist. It had Ophelia in the title. I honestly can't remember the exact title right now, but she was saying that across the country, she and her colleagues in the world of psychology had over time, in recent years, noticed this inundation of preteen and young teen girls having serious problems. And in this book, the author says that the parents would come in and say, what have we done wrong? And they feel so guilty, and they feel like it's their fault. And, I think it's called Reviving Ophelia. And what this author says is that she, across the country, her colleagues were all experiencing this same change in their clientele and this sudden influx of young women with problems so severe that they felt they needed to come in for, sessions, therapy, etc. And what this author said was, no, it's not your fault, parents. This is a cultural phenomenon. These young girls are suffering from the way the culture treats them. And so, in other words, the increase in the patriarchal insensitivity to the personhood and needs and health, especially mental health, of young girls and young women it had gotten so much worse that suddenly, young women were just having these breakdowns and other types of dysfunctional coping mechanisms. So you see, what I'm saying is that there's this evidence that there was no safe place for these young girls and young women. They weren't being recognized in society and their needs being met, and a chance to just grow up and have a normal childhood and do normal things appropriate for their age and gender. And Taylor Swift created that for them. She is like the Mr. Rogers of pop. Remember Mr. Rogers and his neighborhood, where it was a television show, and all these young kids just loved Mr. Rogers because he provided a safe space for them. He talked directly to them about things that they were thinking about and concerned about. And I think probably a lot of adults enjoyed watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood just because of the unhealed trauma from their childhood, and just because, just being in his presence, even through the television, there was just this sense of calm and safety and normalcy. And so that's that group, the young boys and girls of a certain age who were being really attended to and they were given attention by Mr. Roberts or Mr. Rogers, and he created this safe space for them and this extended community for them. And that's what Taylor Swift has done for young girls and young women globally. And, when I mentioned the word strategy, I'm not saying that she set out to do this, but here's what I believe. I believe that humanity, all of us, all human beings, are a collective that is actually an organism, that we're all interconnected vibrationally and energetically, and that the whole human race has a collective consciousness. Just like there are millions of cells in your body, and each one has a certain kind of consciousness, but then they all make up one body, which also has a consciousness, which is what you're aware of, your consciousness. So humanity as an organism, and an organism is something that different parts of it have different functions. Just like in your body, there are certain specialized cells. There are some that you have plenty of, like skin cells and blood cells and things like that. And then there are some that are so specialized that you only have a few of them in your body. They just do certain jobs, regulatory jobs and things like that. So in the human organism, I believe that there are certain types of people who are born because they have a certain function in the organism of humanity that distinguishes them. And they're sort of born to naturally perform this function. It reminds me of one of the lines from the new album about feeling like you're born with a certain uniqueness. So what I'm saying is, in my view, what I see as a reasonable possibility is not only that, as we can see clearly, Taylor Swift has done, not only has she been the Mr. Rogers of pop, in a sense, in the sense of creating this safe nurturing, respectful, friendship bracelet exchanging, joyful, uplifting, inclusive community for all of these young girls and women, celebrating their femininity and educating them about the pitfalls of relationship. Not only has she done that, but it's quite possible, considering the scale on which she has done that she was born to do it. That if people, some of the criticism of Taylor Swift has been, why didn't she include something about President Trump or the situation in Gaza on her album? Why didn't she make a more political or social commentary? Why didn't she come out against capitalism or something? But plenty of people are doing that. How many people are creating a safe space for young girls and young women? Only Taylor Swift, as far as I know. And part of the deeper problem that this is bringing to light is in our culture, because of the patriarchal programming and our internalized patriarchy, we batter and abuse and ridicule people, young people, for their childhood. We don't celebrate and honor and respect childhood. Maybe, perhaps, the youngest, the cute little 2 and 3 year olds or something like that. But when you get into later elementary school, junior high, high school, and into college, it just escalates. Those who are the first to lose their innocence, those who are the first to experience sex, those who are the first to, smoke a cigarette or smoke whatever is the thing that they're not allowed to smoke these days. The ones who lose contact with their childhood first, they start acting like they're the big shots. They're the worldly, more knowing ones, and anybody who hasn't sacrificed their childhood on the altar of peer pressure is a loser and a baby, and you're still a kid. We demonize human childhood and the natural progression and growth of the human psyche within these children and young adults. Whereas what we should be doing is honoring those who are able to hold on to their inner child as long as they can and hold on to that childhood state. So what I'm saying about Taylor Swift maybe was even born to accomplish what she has accomplished, which is an amazing feat, that she could have been born with that predisposition to hold on to the aesthetic and the concerns of immediate life and young life, and not get corrupted by focusing her attention on the kinds of political and worldly matters that are so prevalent in everyone else's minds, because that's one of the things that gets us to neglect and even unintentionally abuse the children and the ones who are still maturing into that state. There was this comment, back when she received a Grammy. I was watching the Grammy shows, and people criticized her for not saying anything about what's happening in Gaza. But there are plenty of people doing that. Taylor Swift is in this position where she's got the attention of all these 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds who don't need to be thinking about those things at this time. Her responsibility is to protect and preserve the psyche of these millions of chicks that she's gathered under her wing. And part of the way she's been able to do that and provide that for them is to remain relatable, to stay eternally young within her, even though she has aged to 35 years old. So the mistake, I think, is just in treating her like she's just another pop star and not recognizing the amazing cultural gifts that she has given to the world by nurturing and protecting the fragile psyches of these young women that are growing up. And so by attacking her, while she is demonstrating to feminists worldwide how to form a global coalition of women by starting at an age before they've totally internalized the patriarchy, instead of honoring her for that and jumping in to help and support and with love guide her in the ways that will enhance what she's been accomplishing in the direction of freeing all women. It's got to be a group effort. I mean, she's only one woman, and she's navigating the patriarchal world in a way that very few people understand the pressures. I mean, just like anyone in that position, she's probably surrounded by a lot of people who see her as a commodity, a lot of people who are trying to subtly adjust her perspectives on things so that they keep her in alignment with these other people's financial goals. There are people who understand that she has way more power than she understands, apparently, from my outsider's point of view. But the reason why these far-right politicians want to tear her down so much is because they recognize how much power she has. But, the best thing that the feminists could do is celebrate her for what she has achieved and lovingly try to guide her into an accurate perspective of the challenges that still need to be overcome in order to liberate women from the patriarchy. And not just liberate women, liberate all people from the oppressive control of the patriarchal mindset. So in criticizing and attacking and trying to tear down Taylor Swift and celebrating that her coalition may be starting to show cracks and some people may be leaving it, that's patriarchal behavior. That's what the patriarchy trained us to do to each other so that we wouldn't help each other and cooperate. If you see a sister whose attitudes and actions seem to be going out of alignment with freeing women and improving the health and happiness of all of humanity and all of nature, the thing to do is start from a place of love and then try to establish rapport and communicate and teach and elevate and lift up. I mean, she's already, at the head of this worldwide coalition of millions and millions and millions of young women. Instead of tearing that down or, tearing her down and saying she's a bad person because maybe she hasn't navigated all of the challenges in a way that you think she should have and come out a perfect person. Instead of doing that, what feminists should be doing is saying, whoa, look at what you have done. You have begun the freeing of women at this early age. And now what's needed is the educational part of, as it is age appropriate, introducing, the wider perspectives of what's going on in the world and what needs to be done about it. And I think even in that attempt, one would need to hold all due respect for Taylor, because from the videos I've seen, I see feminists attacking Taylor Swift, and yet they themselves, the feminists that I've seen, seem to feel as if they have all the answers, and she's completely wrong about things. Whereas she's the one who's actually done the work of bringing all of these women together. And so it's not a matter of, now that she's done that, we'll just tell her, what's what, and she should follow it. No. Because the feminists that I've seen, in my estimation, are coming from their mentality, not from their heart. And Taylor Swift, in my estimation, comes from her heart, which is the feminine energy. And so one should not expect her to just, accept criticism or guidance without evaluating it herself and determining, is this part of what I want to include in the way that I am leading this group? And let's face it, she is leading a group. And yes, when you lead a group, especially a group of this size, there comes responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. But too often, I've seen people wake up to one aspect of patriarchy and then think they understand it and then think they have the answers. And it's not just patriarchy, although it's all tied together, but you get somebody who also wakes up to what's going on with the economy, and so they jump to an immediate conclusion about how to fix it, and then they think they're absolutely right and start arguing with somebody else. And this is one of the reasons why people who are trying to make a positive change in the world have not been able to truly coalesce and truly find unity. It's because everybody is so certain that all of their opinions are correct and aren't willing to do the work of freeing themselves from the internalized patriarchy and cooperating with people who may have a different point of view in a way that is respectful, rather than demonizing everybody who disagrees with you. So I've talked about how I think it's a mistake for feminists to attack Taylor Swift when actually she has accomplished what so many just dream or wish they could possibly accomplish, and that the wiser strategy would be to congratulate her on the aspect of uniting all women to fight for freedom for all humanity on earth, the great accomplishment she's already served up on a silver platter, to thank her for that and congratulate her for that and suggest, and here's where we can take this, and here's what you can learn, or here's what you can do to move things in a healthy and helpful manner. So I've talked about that, and that was an example of this cultural problem that we have widespread of attacking children for being children, attacking young teens or even older for taking their time to grow up. People are attacking Taylor on her lyrics as, being juvenile or trying to come off sounding more experienced than she really may be. And I have no personal knowledge of anything like that. I'm just saying this is what people have been criticizing her for. But remember that she has been in this process of staying in relation and in rapport with these young women. And in my point of view, it seems as though she's been holding on to that precious inner child, despite maturing and dealing with a lot of adult things in the world. You can do both. You can mature into adulthood and hold on to your inner child and your joie de vivre. I noticed, in some of the clips I've seen when she's walking across the stage, sometimes she doesn't walk, she'll skip. Oh, a 35-year-old woman is skipping instead of walking. Well, try it. Skipping is fun. So that's the deeper cultural problem that is causing so much mental trauma and emotional abuse in the world, is that the more mature, those who mature quicker, the older ones, really come down hard on people who are trying to preserve their childhood and hold on to that really human part of us. So I don't know if I said everything I needed to say, but this has gone on pretty long, and I thank you if you're still with me for staying with me. I think I pretty much said it and given the gist of what I'm trying to explain. But in closing, I'll just say that it seems to me a general cultural phenomenon and part of the patriarchy that has been intensifying over the last few decades of just taking every opportunity to criticize and condemn and tear someone down without yourself really looking at the larger picture and what's been accomplished, and without any sense of trying to come from a place of love and seeing other people as good people too, who are also doing their best, and trying to work with people. The patriarchy is about scattering and cutting off and hating and toxic criticism and judgmentalism and domination. It's scattering rather than gathering. And to free ourselves from the patriarchy, we need to stop doing all of this, making war on other people, and start being patient and cooperative and non-judgmental, which Taylor has given us a perfect example in these tens of thousands of young women coming together, packing these arenas and tailgating outside or whatever else they do, exchanging friendship bracelets, making connections, showing, platonic love, just human connection and good feeling. And she has done an amazing service to humanity in that. And I might note that she did it with the music that so many people now are criticizing. No one else's music really has created this kind of a worldwide coalition of young women where they feel they're being seen, recognized, honored, appreciated, making contact and connections and relationships with other young women and forming a healthy community. It's her music that did that. And if it were more complex or more adventurous or more challenging intellectually, it may not have been able to do that. Probably wouldn't, because there's plenty of that other kind of music around. So, so many of these criticisms actually completely miss the point and don't take into account the larger picture. And they seem, very self-absorbed on behalf of the people who are criticizing, and just judgmental. And even if you don't personally care for something, that doesn't mean you have to tear it down or make the other person a bad person. Okay, so there's more I could say, but I'll leave it right there. Thanks for listening. Peace and love.